Hello, hi, welcome. Statistical classes. Today we learn classification of the data. In a previous class, we discussed about data, collection of data, primary data, secondary data, and different aspects with regarding that one. Classification. Why data is classification is very much important. As we know that unorganized data are not fit for any analysis and also for interpretation. So to make the data simple and easily understandable, the first task is to condense and simplify the data in a such a way that irrelevant data are removed and the significant features are stand as a very important aspect for analysis. So the procedure for this purpose is known as method of classification. So according to J.R. Hicks, he quoted very simply, classified and arranged facts speak themselves. Unarranged, unorganized, they are data as mutton. So it is the data should be classified in a such a way they speak themselves. So that is the very reason. So they said that one it is required a proper classification. So according to J.R. Hicks. So what do you mean by classification? So classification is nothing but it is the process of arranging the data, arrange the things or data, groups or classes according to their resemblances. So it is very important we should arrange the data according to their resemblances and affinities. So and give expression to the unity of attributes so that may subsist among a diversity of individuals. As we know that one, as we taking as we collecting the data, it has different attributes. We are making it resembling data. We are arranging, we are classifying according to the things or data or classes. So that is called as the classification of data. So here one definition according to Segrest. So it is the process of arranging the data into sequence or in a groups according to their common characters. If anything found is a common character of the data which they collected or facts, that to be arranged according to their sequence. That is separating them in different but should be related parts. Somehow it is a related one to another, and that we making a similar group, that is called as a classification according to Segrest. So Stockton and Clerk, they define that one, the process of grouping the large number of individual facts. So it is the individual facts we collected as the data and we are processing, we are making into groups and observation on the basis of similarity. Some similarity we found, so that similarity data we are arranging separately. So that is called as the classification according to Clerk. So this is the meaning and definition. So next we'll see what is the characteristics of classification. So here is some characteristics are found based on definition and meaning or the things. That is, classification performs on homogeneous grouping of data. Certain homogeneous items we found, based on that we are classifying the data. That is called as the classification of data. So it brings off points of similarity. There is some similarity also we have found it. Based on that similarity, on dissimilarities, we are differentiating by making a classification. So it is either real or it may be imaginary. The classification which we are making, it is a real or which it is the making which we are classifying, or some imaginary. So this is how we are making a classification. So the imaginary also we are making the classification, and this classification also should be flexible to accommodate adjustments. So it should be flexible according to our requirements. So these are the certain important characteristics in a classification of data. So we also found that certain important guidelines, some important objectives. So before we'll see that one, objectives of the classification. So main objective is that it is to simplify condense the large data. So large data which we cannot come a conclusion, which we cannot able to understand. In that case, we are making a simplifying. So that is why we are classifying. So another thing is that to present the facts easily in understandable form. So homogeneous fact, we discussed that one in a previous series. The homogeneous groups are there. So and again similarity, dissimilarity is making, so it can easily understand. So we can make comparison while making the classification. Once we classify it, then we can make easily comparable. We can make differences. We can make similarities, and also to draw inferences. This is a very important, the statistical part. To draw inferences, so we required a classification. So to relate the variables among the data. So there is some relative variables to coordinate variables. So for that required a classification. For further analysis, to make further analysis, to get further conclusion, further data sorting, for that purpose classification is very much required. So here is once again unwanted data also eliminating by sorting. Unwanted data. So here we are simply classifying data to eliminate unwanted data which is not required. And finally, it is very important to prepare a tabulation. So tabulation is very much important for once again to understand the data, what it is going to tell. Then we'll see another important aspect, that is characteristic or guiding principles of classification of the data. So guiding principles, or it may be classification or rules of classification. So certain important guidelines which we are observed, that is a certain we mentioned there, we'll understand one by one. The first thing is that exhaustive. Exhaustive means, so here each and every item in a data must be as long it is as belong to one of the classes. So introduction of residual class, either miscellaneous, should be these things to be avoided. Another one, mutually exclusive. Here each items should be placed at any one class. It is mutually exclusive. And suitability, another important guidelines of classification is that suitable. So it should conform a objective of inquiry. It should make very suitable, and it is a helping for making further inquiry. Another thing is the stability. Stability here, only one principle must be maintained throughout the classification and analysis. Why we collected the data so far, why we need it, so that is that and all that principle should be maintained throughout the classification. So that is the main classification objective, and these rules or guidelines should be maintained. And the homogeneity. So one of the characteristics of classification is homogeneity. The items included in each class must be homogeneous. Some sorts of homogeneous must be found in each and every items, and according to that we should be sorted, we should be classified the data. And finally, it should be flexible. A good classification, it should be flexible enough to accommodate new situation, or it may be a changed situation. A new situation or changed situation, it should be according to that, should be flexible. That is the main guidelines or rules for the classification. So here is certain type of classification we discuss. We will go into discuss, that is a types of classification. So here the types of classification refers to the classes, categories in which data should be, it could be sorted or tabulated. So these categories that is depend upon nature of data and purpose for which data is being to be sorted. So that is the classification. So what is the important classification? That is the geographical classification. It is based on the area or region wise. Another one, chronological classification. So on the basis of temporal, historical with the respect to time. So chronology, it is an order, time period we are classifying the data. Another one, qualitative, that is based on characters or attributes. And finally numerical, or it may be quantitative, on the basis of magnitude of data, the changes of numbers, magnitude of data we are classifying the data. So these are certain classification. Very simple, we can say it is a geographical, chronological, qualitative and quantitative classification. We'll discuss in simple for a classification on the basis of geographical. Here is a different states are there and the yield of production in different kgs per hectare. So that is according to the classification according to the geographical. So another one, there is a chronological classification. So here according to the year, so birth rate, chronological order. So birth rate, what is the birth rate are there? That is a 36.8, 36.9. The birth rate is, here you will see that one, it is a declining, but the data shows according to the time duration, that is a year. So different years and the birth rate. So when we express in the time duration or time period, it is called as the chronological order classification. Then according to qualitative and quantitative. As you know that qualitative is nothing but according to the presence or absence of attributes. So qualitative something, the data is classified according to the characters or it may be attributes. Actually attributes cannot be measurable, but we are making certain method to measure this also. So based on some quality, so that is the absence and presence of that quality we are measuring in the statistical. Say example, so sex, literacy, education, class, grade. So this and all comes under attributes. So literacy, educated, uneducated, and again class, grade, male and female in gender when we say. So these are certain classification based on the qualitative. So it may also be classified simple classification, manifold classification. If you know that simple classification is done only two classes, so that is called as a simple classification. Say example, population, that is a male and female gender, population, that is a educated, uneducated, when we say it is a education. So this is called as the simple classification according to the quantity wise. Under one, manifold classification, this classification is based on the more than one attribute. Say example, if it is we classified male and female, so after male and female, then we say whether they are educated or uneducated. Then again, educated, uneducated, what is the class they be, got it. That is a grade 1, grade 2, whatever the grade that they are studying, 7th grade, 8th grade. So then again, the simple character itself they are classifying into manifold. Such classification called as the manifold classification. So that is all about quantitative. Now we'll see final one, that is a qualitative classification. So quantitative, here is some numbers, we say that one and the classification. Say example, up to 50, there is a number of schools is a 6, 51 to 100 is a 15, and 100 1 to 200. So number of schools according to the enrollment they classified. There is here the magnitude of data, the number of data that are classified. So this is called as the quantitative classification. We must understand qualitative is a attributes classification, quantity it is expressing into numbers. What about other, that is a geographical, it is a numbers but according to the different country, different states or different countries. And again, if you say that one chronological is a time period, what is the time period? Maybe if you say weekly basis or yearly basis, monthly basis, whatever that matter, the data is classified according to the time period. So these are the certain classification of the data. Thank you for watching, all the viewers, and subscribe my videos for more updates for BCom and BBA statistical classes. Thank you.